Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. It was a busy week for bills in the state capitol. Thousands came to the Capitol to voice opposition during committee meetings this week. Two Democratic lawmakers chastised the public, with one resorting to cursing. And a court in California recently upheld the state's net-neutrality laws. The court refused to hear arguments from service providers, who now, if they want, can take their case to the U.S. Supreme Court. Angelenos and visitors to the county alike are feeling some COVID whiplash today. The Los Angeles County Department of Public Health has issued once again that masks are required on all public transit within LA County. This includes buses, trains, taxis, rideshare, as well as indoor transportation hubs such as airports. The county cited a Wednesday CDC statement in its decision. The change goes beyond what the California Department of Public Health is currently requiring. Tensions ran high this week during Assembly committee meetings over controversial bills in the legislature. One chair went as far as to swear at members of the public voicing their opinions.
Tempers flared at hearings for two assembly bills this week in the California Capitol building. During a committee hearing in Sacramento, Democratic Assemblyman Mark Berman swore at people speaking in opposition to Assembly Bill 2098.
Hey, check it out. I need everybody to follow the rules. Give your name, an organization you're with, and your position on the bill.
The bill would restrict what doctors can say about COVID treatment. Berman's outburst followed public comments during the Assembly Business and Professions Committee hearing. Republican Assemblyman Kevin Kiley described Berman's actions as a total meltdown. Kiley wrote, "Yesterday, thousands of citizens came to the Capitol to make their voices heard. Our corrupt politicians didn't like it." Berman's outburst came this week as large numbers of people came to Sacramento to speak against several bills. NTD reached out to Berman's office for comment. There was also controversy surrounding Assembly Bill 2223, nicknamed the Infanticide Bill. Speakers described the bill as disgusting, hideous, and pure evil. Public testimony, which sometimes causes committee meetings to run for hours, was limited to 1 hour.
Let me stop for a second. Just your name and your position on the bill. Enough of the adjectives. Name and position on the bill and any organization represented. Otherwise, we're cutting it off.
The bill repeals the requirement of coroners to investigate infant deaths related to criminal abortions. Analysts and lawmakers say parts of the bill are vaguely worded. The bill could apply to newborns ranging from 1 month to 1 year old. Republican Assemblywoman Melissa Melendez wrote, "I have now watched AB 2223 go through 2 committees with not one question being asked of the author. A bill this consequential that will affect the lives of millions forevermore if passed, and not one question." Democrats voted 11-3 in favor of the bill authored by Democratic Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks. It will move forward to the Assembly Appropriations Committee.
California law enforcement officers say they have solved a 2-decade-old cold case that took the life of Makia Wadley. The family said they just want some closure by getting the killer's identity, but they had to push officials to get it. NTD's Cynthia Kai had the story.
Richmond police say they know who killed Mika Wadley back in 1999. Police say the killer is dead, but law enforcement at the Thursday morning press conference refused to identify him at first. But the Wadley family pushes police to name the killer.
Why is it okay he's a secret? Why the world can't know? We know what he did. Why the family can't know? They look at him as a hero. He's not a hero. He's a murderer.
He is.
So why the world can't know?
Well, my take on this is, why give somebody fame and notoriety for committing such a murder?
They need to know. We suffering.
In the end, police eventually named him Jerry Lee Henderson, who was identified through the DNA of a close relative. This case dates back to January 1999.
So he was a friend of her friend Terry, and they both knew him.
Keela said Henderson went to Mika's house one night when she was at the movies.
So when she got home, her daily routine, putting on her T-shirts where she could go to bed, she found him in the house, and then that's where the struggle came in. So it was a tussle. She didn't know he was in the house.
Richmond police responded to a call at a residence on the 1300 block of Carlsbad Boulevard after a nearby neighbor reported hearing screaming coming from the residence. Arriving officers found Mika on the floor of her bedroom. Her hands were bound with shoelace. She died from asphyxia due to smothering, and a buck knife was found under her body. Law enforcement conducted a variety of DNA testing in the years following the case.
And they found the DNA underneath her fingernails because she fought him.
Police say Henderson died 11 days after the murder of a suspected overdose. His death made the DNA search more challenging. Over the years, investigators collected various DNA samples from Mika and Henderson's family members. They finally found a match on September 17, 2021.
I just want to tell people, I'm tired of people on T-shirts. It needs to stop. It just needs to stop all around because too many of us is passing. Too many of us is getting up here with pictures of our relatives, our kids, everything on T-shirts. And I just want all this to stop.
Mika would have been 50 years old this month. She was 28 when she was killed. In the end, the Wadley family thanked law enforcement for their efforts in helping identify the killer. Richmond Police and Attorney General Rob Bonta said they hope the results from this investigation will bring closure to the Wadley family. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
A U.S. Court of Appeals decided that it would not reconsider its decision early this year to uphold California's net-neutrality law. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
On Wednesday, a U.S. Court of Appeals rejected a petition by telecom and broad industry groups to reconsider its January decision to uphold California's net neutrality law. In 2015, the FCC adopted federal net neutrality rules, which were overturned 2 years later. In 2018, California created its own state-level laws similar to the original 2015 federal version. Proponents to the California Law Electronic Frontier Foundation describe net neutrality as the idea that internet service providers should treat all data that travels over their networks fairly without improper discrimination in favor of particular apps, sites, or services. The group argues that we don't want ISPs acting as gatekeepers, making special deals with a few companies and inhibiting new competition, innovation, and expression. Former FCC Chair Ajit Pai, who was involved in repealing the 2015 FCC neutrality laws, told PBS that he supports an open and free internet, but the federal laws were too heavy-handed and burdensome on both large and small internet service providers. He said we could disincentivize companies from wanting to build out internet access to a lot of parts of the country. After this decision, the groups could appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. Northern California was lucky enough to have both rain and snow for much of the week, but according to National Weather Service, it won't be enough to alleviate drought. And speaking of drought, new research is being carried out about how wildfires and snowmelt are connected. We'll look at what's being found in the mountains. And what better way to start a weekend than with a seemingly endless field of flowers? San Diego's Carlsbad is in full bloom. We'll take a look at the beautiful display. That and more on California Today. Rain and snow returned to Northern California after a dry start to the year. Although this month brought much needed water, it may not offset the drought. NTD's David Lamb reports.
Over the past few days, snowfall covered areas in the Sierra, ranging from 2 inches up to 30 inches. The National Weather Service says it's due to a late season storm. In terms of precipitation, they say we may not have had a miracle March, but April has been awesome. Rain showers in the Bay Area were producing small hail. But despite the brisky snow and weather patterns during the spring season, the U.S. Drought Monitor indicates that much of the state is in severe or extreme drought conditions as of this week. This indicates that the fire season can last longer or even year-round. This month, the governor continues to encourage water use reduction amid lack of adequate rainfall during the start of the year.
We had the driest January, the driest February, and driest March in California history.
The NWS says given the low snowpack and increasingly dry climate, they forecast that the drought will still persist in California. Beach hazard statements were also issued for coastal areas. Some statements are remaining in effect through Saturday evening in San Diego and Orange County, with waves up to 7 feet and strong currents. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
A researcher is looking to how yearly forest fires influence snowmelt. In turn, she says the snowmelt influences future fires. Here's what one researcher has found so far.
Snow is melting faster than usual in this forest. After a wildfire burned through the tree line, a lack of leafy canopy allows for sunlight to directly shine on the snow-covered ground. As a result, more water is running off into the rivers now rather than when it will be needed in summer. Researcher Ann Nolan is focusing on how particulate matter from the burned trees increases the melting rates for snow.
One lesson that we can learn from this is that these areas that have been affected by fire, the snow's dirtier, it's absorbing that sunlight, it's melting faster, and that you're going to have earlier runoff probably for up to a decade.
The dark particles on snow, often dust, soot, or carbon, aren't widely measured in detail as the process can be costly.
The work that we're doing here and elsewhere in these burned forests, studying carbon shedding on snow, is laying the groundwork for understanding how that's impacting snowmelt and how we can improve water management in the future.
Despite recent snowstorms, parts of the state have already hit levels far below average for snowpack this year. The impact of early melting snow is critical for communities that rely on yearly runoff as their water supply.
We're interested in understanding how that changes the water resources for communities downstream and for forests that are trying to regrow the vegetation. Okay, that's 61. Down. Now up is 62.
Modern water forecasting methods include snow density, soil moisture, and air temperature. However, the black particulate that Nolan studies is not included. She warns that there may be a vicious cycle.
We know when the snowpack melts off earlier that you're going to have a much longer dry season, and a dry season means more severe fires.
Nolan is among a small number of researchers studying the particles and hopes that the information can be valuable to future water forecasting.
A post office in Southern California was renamed in honor of a Vietnam War veteran. After returning from the war, he spent the remainder of his life advocating for other veterans.
Officially named this post office the Jose Ramos Post Office.
On Wednesday, local officials in Whittier, California dedicated the post office in honor of Vietnam War veteran Jose G. Ramos. He worked as a lifelong advocate for veterans.
But we are here today nonetheless, and it's my pleasure to honor Jose Ramos, his service, and the legacy he left behind for us to follow.
Ramos returned from the Vietnam War after being shot in the leg and was diagnosed with PTSD. But he didn't let the diagnosis get in his way as he dedicated his life to advocating both locally and nationally for the veteran community.
He got all the way to Washington, D.C., where he pushed lawmakers to finally recognize the sacrifice, service, and years of mistreatment Vietnam veterans had endured.
Ramos enlisted in the Army while he was in the 10th grade. He served as a combat medic in 1968. He received the Purple Heart for his service. After returning home, he worked at the Los Angeles County USC Medical Center and Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital until his retirement in 1999. Ramos's family joined the ceremony.
My brother was a very, very good father, a good brother, a good son, and when he came back, he was even better when he came back from Vietnam.
He's a great role model, mentor, and he's just a champion.
Ramos previously petitioned the federal government to recognize March 30th as a day to honor Vietnam veterans. He succumbed to pancreatic cancer 5 years ago on September 2nd, 2017. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
Thousands of visitors are flocking to one of the Southern California's most colorful and impressive annual sights, the huge blooms at the Carlsbad flower fields. Let's take a look at the vibrant scene.
Between March and May, colorful and vibrant flowers cover Carlsbad flower fields. The flower spectacle on the Pacific coast near San Diego seeds tens of millions of flowers each year.
Well, it's a labor of love, and it's a lot of love that goes into the labor to make this place look like it does. It's a 9-month crop. So back in early September, we started planting. We plant roughly 7 acres every 2 to 3 weeks, and the color starts on the north end of the property and then works its way down to the south.
Clark says guests almost can't resist snapping photos.
This is very photogenic location. I'd go out on a limb and say that this is the most photographed spot in Southern California. You just can't help but take photographs here. Everybody has a phone in their pocket, and everyone's got a camera on that phone. So, you know, back in the day, people were looking for batteries because they ran out of batteries. Now they want a charging station so they can charge their phone and keep taking pictures.
The flowers are sold commercially, but the colorful buttercup variety only yields a small crop for sale. As few as 5% of the stems will be of florist grade. Each year, the flowers draw visitors from all over the world, with around 250,000 expected this year.
I saw it on Instagram, and I just saw it, and I wanted to come and take pictures.
Oh my gosh, how many photos? We've probably taken like 50 or more, probably. We've only been here an hour.
Some enjoyed and hope to enjoy the colorful flowers with family.
Moreover, here it is no rush, so you can have your own time
here.
And the kids are having a lovely time enjoying. So these are the kids.
Yeah.
So really nice.
And I feel like I visited the flowers back in Netherlands, and then I've seen a little version of it in Seattle, and I was surprised to see that that's over here. And my parents, they didn't have that feel before, so I kind of wanted them to have that experience with the flowers.
One of the big draws is the replica of the U.S. flag, which has been planted annually since 9/11. The design is made up of 20,000 petunias. The gardens are open to the public through Mother's Day on May 8th.
Now let's check in with NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
Allison Lee shot a 5 under 66 on Thursday afternoon at Breezy Wilshire Country Club to take the first round lead in the DIO Implant LA Open. The resurgent former UCLA star had the lone bogey-free round of the day in testing conditions, with the wind gusting to 25 miles per hour to start the LPGA Tour's 2-week run in the Los Angeles area, with the Palos Verdes Championship next week. Lee birdied the par 4 6th and par 3 7th on the front 9, then moved up the leaderboard with birdies on the par 3 12th, par 5 15th, and par 4 16th. She saved par on the final 2 holes, making a 6-footer on the par 4 17th and blasting out of the front bunker for a tap-in on the par 3 18th. Top-ranked Jin Young Ko had a 71 in the morning. Defending champion Brooke Henderson, playing alongside Ko, opened with a 76. She had a triple bogey on the par 3 4th. Former Southern California players Allison Corpuz and Amy Olsen aced the 134-yard 18th. Corpuz shot a 72, Olsen a 75. The 27-year-old American 66 showed that she belongs. Now, she is trying to win for the first time on the LPGA Tour. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in a playoff series in NBA history. Now the Warriors hold that dangerous lead over the Nuggets with their 118-113 victory at Denver. Denver can try, but they are as good as gone. Steph Stephen Curry went for 27 points, Jordan Poole added 27, and Klay Thompson poured in 26 for the triple-headed monster working to capacity. The Warriors system has clearly shaken the league and these Nuggets, as many are already calling their lineup of Poole, Curry, Thompson, Green, and Wiggins the death lineup. One that can both hold up on defense and provide blistering offense with exquisite ball movement and dead-eye shooting. This time, the death lineup wasn't as effective, with Jokic and other Nuggets attacking its weak points and clinging to the game until the very end. The Warriors still shot 45% from three-point land as a team and made up in efficiency what they lacked in volume. Reigning MVP Nikola Jokic had a game-high 37 points to go along with 18 rebounds and 5 assists, and also 3 steals. He was responsible for taking almost every Nuggets shot down the stretch, something that has become a problem for the Nuggets. Denver should always try to play through their best player in Jokic, but the rest of their roster is so weak that often the MVP is left alone on an island. He can't carry this team past the Warriors by himself, let alone make a playoff run with this roster. The Warriors are closing in on a first-round victory done in their old ways. After all these years, they still haven't forgotten their mantra, strength in numbers. Nuggets 113, Warriors 118.
As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
And that's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for our show, or you just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a nice weekend.